Hey guys, welcome back to Airsoftology Mondays, the show that answers your questions, gives you a few tips here and there, and also knows where you sleep at night. That's right, you. I'm your host, Jonathan Higgs, and welcome back to another episode of the show. Got a lot going on, like I say every week. There's always so much going on around here. So many new things coming in the studio, and a lot of accessories coming my way here recently, which is great. I love accessories. I mean, gun reviews are fantastic, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love working with the guns, and still have a ton of them sitting around. You've seen them in the past few shows, some that are coming up soon on reviews. In fact, I was busy last week, and I've shot 4 videos in the past 2 days, start to finish, including an exclusive first look at the Scorpion VZ61 machine pistol by KWA, the actual gas blowback one. I actually got my hands on it, the prototype that's making its way around the US, and it had to go back, but I was able to get it for a handful of hours and give you guys a quick kind of first impressions review, show you FPS and show you how it performs. But I've also got a ton of review stuff. In fact, this is one of them right here. Got my remote control almost knocked over there. And these are actually kind of neat. I'm really digging these. These are the new Ares Amoeba mid caps. These are 140 rounders, and I'm gonna be doing a review on these of what they fit and work in. And I've gotta say, I've actually been really impressed. Z-Shot is actually bringing these into the States, being the Ares importer. And so far, in the few that I've tested with, I wanna get an exhaustive review, so I don't wanna give it all away here yet until I get my findings. These have been pretty slick, and the cool part is they come in tan black, and they've got a built-in mag pull thingy that flips out, which is really neat. Surprisingly nice magazine. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for that review coming up shortly. Also, want to give a big thank you. Let me get that out of the way here. Oh, back on camera. To Adela Relentless, this little tiny patch right here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and bring it up here to the camera. Adela sent me this, and I'll tell you what, it's one of her exclusive Adela Relentless patches. If you guys don't know Adela Relentless, she's great. She's actually sponsored by Vulcan, I think a couple other companies as well. And she is a great airsoft personality, lives out on the West Coast. So if you guys don't know, check her out. Look for her on YouTube and Facebook. Just type in Adela Relentless and you can find her. And I think they've got a Sladies game, which is Adela versus Leah, coming up here shortly in California as well. I'll put that down in the description when I dig up the information on that game if you guys are in the SoCal area and you guys want to attend that. But enough about all the things that have been going around here. Let's get to the real meat of the matter, and that's your questions. Jason Morales writes, "Hey John, what's the difference between a high-speed motor and a high-torque motor? What kind of benefit and performance will I receive from each?" All right, so as the name implies, obviously the high-speed motor is designed for speed, and it's all about the way they wind it inside the motor without getting really into all the detail. There's a few components in there that make motors work. Most importantly is the way they're wound. They use copper wire, and they're wrapped so many times using a certain thickness of wire around the middle part, which I believe is called the core. I think they're calling it that, and it mates up to a bunch of other stuff. Not to get too technical with you, but depending on how many times you wrap it and the thickness of the wire, you can make a motor balanced, which means it's good torque and speed, very torquey, which means we'll get to that in a second, and high speed. So yeah, the high speed motors are designed for really fast rate of fire, blazing rate of fire, but they're not going to be able to hold up to a stiff spring. So any kind of real serious load, you're going to end up burning those things out. There's just not enough oomph in the way they're built to turn over like a bigger spring, like even an M120 or an SP120 spring. So you want to stick with something in the 100 or the M90 rating, maybe a 110. You might chop a couple coils off, but that's a tech story for another day. Then you have the high torque motors, which are the exact opposite. They're wound for really pulling a big, old beefy spring over. Now they do pull bigger amps typically because they take a lot more juice, but they'll be able to take that juice and you're not going to burn them out as easy when trying to turn over like a 130, 140, or even a 150 spring, or sometimes even higher than that. But there's an exception. So a lot of times if you take a high torque motor, at least ones that aren't so far on the torque scale, so like a moderately to high, a lot of them that call themselves a high torque motor, and you run it with a very high voltage battery, like an 11-1 LiPo, maybe a 20C, you can actually get a decently healthy, fast rate of fire out of it as well. So you can use a high torque motor in a higher speed application, but if you're looking for that blazing rate of fire to like lay down some serious BBs in indoor play, just like a BB hose, and putting out what I like to call the frozen rope of BBs where it looks like silly string, then yeah, you definitely want to stick lower spring, lower FPS, use that high speed motor. Hope that helps kind of break down what they do, how they're built, and answers your question. Tryhard Gaming writes, "Hi, I'm new to Airsoft and I have my heart set on the JJ-M4S system. What's your opinion? Thanks." I used to have one of those a long time ago. Love the gun, it's a great gun. In fact, the new JGS system, the enhanced version, if you've seen those around, which is I think the 2014 model, is a really nice gun. I mean, it is monstrous, it's beefy, it's got actually some pretty impressive internals. I haven't done a review on them, but I've actually seen the internals firsthand, seen what they're capable of being upgraded to. So yeah, it's a fantastic gun. The only thing I do caution you when you bring any kind of guns in like that is make sure you're buying it from a good retailer, because you're not going to get a factory warranty like you would on buying a name brand gun, like let's say an Echo 1, a KWA, an Elite Force model, or something along those lines, where those are going to come with the manufacturer's warranty. So just make sure you buy it from someplace reputable that has a good warranty, just in case you do run into a challenge down the road. You can go to that retailer and you can get that resolved. Sergeant Zaff03 writes, "What's the most realistic functioning airsoft gun?" That's pretty easy. What you're looking at probably most realistic is going to be your gas blowback gun. So looking at, let's say a pistol right here, this is going to function pretty darn close to a real firearm. The way you actually chamber around, you lock it, it locks back on the last shot, your mag changes, and the blowback function. When it comes to rifles, it's pretty much the same thing. You're gonna have that realism out of a gas blowback rifle. It's gonna give you really close, if not almost exactly, to the same manual of arms you're gonna see on a real, let's say an AR or an AK. So you have to put the magazine in, you're gonna have to rack the charging handle, you have to chamber around, and on the last shot, the bolt's gonna lock back, you have to do a mag change and hit the mag release. So, you're gonna run through the same process. And most gas blowbacks are roughly the same dimension as a real firearm. So you're gonna get that same feel. If you didn't know this, AEGs are a little fatter in the grip to accept the motor, and same with the body. They're a little wider than a real, like an AR-15, for example. AKs are pretty close, but on the AR-15s, there is a noticeable difference in size and dimension. And if you've ever worked with a real AR, you've known that for the most part, most AEGs are going to be bigger, except for like a system of PTW. So yeah, for realism, I would definitely say gas blowback, hands down, is the closest thing you're going to get to a real firearm. Mitchell Schmidt writes, "Do you think airsoft will get more popular in Missouri, Arkansas, etc.? What do you think? Thanks." Well, I think the biggest challenge with airsoft in rural states, I mean, I live in Tennessee, so it's not exactly the most populated town or state for that matter in the US, is it's really around the community. And the community really focuses on a couple things. One, having a great field or fields to play at, and two, having a solid local retail shop. If you don't have those two, you're not going to have that magic formula to build a really strong community of airsoft. It's just going to be really tough. You have to ship in your stuff, you're going to have to get repairs done by friends or ship it off to get repaired. When you look at all those components that are going to be missing, you're just not really in the right environment to set yourself up for a great airsoft community. So really what it comes down to is when you look at those areas, make sure you're building a good community. If you're near a bigger city or even a small to moderate sized city, really look at trying to get a shop there. If you're ready and you're business minded, maybe open a shop. There's a lot of small to medium sized towns that can still do well with an airsoft shop. I mean, there's a lot of these great dealers out there that are looking to open up those accounts, and also getting real airsoft fields, getting out of that backyard field play, which is it's not safe, to be honest. I mean, if that's all you have, I understand that's what you do. I mean, admittedly, I started there, but for the safety of the sport and the hobby, definitely want to get out of that backyard play and get into a real field in a safe environment that's licensed, that has insurance, and all of those things. So yeah, it really comes down to those two components. So really look around, try to find a shop. If there's a shop somewhere near you, like in the next big city up, maybe an hour or so away, see if they'll open a small satellite shop and maybe a field. You can kind of lobby to get them to open up one there. That's really, in my opinion, the best way to build a great airsoft community in your hometown. Connor Rose writes, hey John, in CQB, what do you use, the Scorpion Evo, or would you dual wield an MP7? All right, Connor, first I want to tell you, if I slaughtered your last name, I'm sorry. And second, I've been trying to answer your question for the past 3 shows now, and unfortunately it got cut from the last 2. Just for the sake of time, I've had to cut so many out. I usually shoot about 10 to 12 questions per video, if you guys didn't know this, and I chop out the ones that I don't use or can't get to in time or don't really answer the right way. So to answer your question, Evo, all the way, 100%. Just because dual wielding is not that effective, given the parameters of your question, I would definitely say run the Evo as a single primary. Even given the option against the MP7, you're kind of limited with gas mags and 42 rounds. I think it's 42 rounds that are in the MP7 versus 75 in the Evo, and electric versus gas. You can actually load them back up in the field with the speed loader, not need gas. I mean, overall, from a primary standpoint, it's the better gun for me. I would definitely run that. Not to say, I mean, I do have an MP7. I love it. I still use it as a primary sometimes. Given the opportunity to choose between the two, I'd still go with the Evo just because you get more firepower and more control. Prodigy Milsim writes, what types are those bullets back there? So you're talking about these guys right here, the bullets I got behind me. Actually, those are just a few I've collected over the years. From me out is 22, spent 22 casing. That one's left over from my HK416 22 caliber rimfire shoot when I went to Umarex out in Arkansas a couple years ago. That's when I collected from the range floor after shooting that. Fun gun to shoot, by the way. It's such a blast because it's 22 caliber. It's awesome. Next one over, spent 45 casing for one of my 45s. Then over from that, I got to kind of look in the screen here. Check. Oh, that's the sim round I picked up from, I think it was Oklahoma or it was Indiana, one of those two. And then the other one over there next to it is a spent 5.56 sim round. So it's a 9mm sim round, the one that's pink back there. The silver one next to it's a spent 5.56 sim round, one of the new style ones. And then the rest of those are 5.56 rounds. They're actually live. They still have the bullet inside the casing as well for the AR. Well guys, that's it for questions this week, and you know what that means? It is time for my video recommendation of the week. And this one is from a very small channel, which is crazy because I love this guy. He's a cool dude. He's actually a personal friend of mine, Rob Murray, or you guys probably know him as Robo. And he is a big Milsimmer. He's from Canada, and he puts on some great stuff. Now, the video I'm going to show you guys here is his training he's been doing. Now, again, he's not a tactical trainer by any means. He's just showing some good airsoft training. He's extremely passionate. He really knows his stuff, and he's working with his team. I think his team and maybe another team. That's a 2-part series. He also has some great product reviews on his channel. So if you definitely want to check him out, give him a subscribe. If you like what you see over there, like I said, he's got some great reviews and some great training videos like this one here. Just kind of shows you what goes on in the mind of a Milsim player like Robo. So yeah, check it out. Links down in the description. And this is part, I think, 1 of 2 of what he calls Pew Pew Time. So he kind of makes it lighthearted too, so it's not all super serious. Well guys, that's it for this week's Q&A show. Thank you again for watching. I appreciate the time we spend here together, and I appreciate your questions. And if you have a question, don't forget, just put it right down there in the old comment section. Vote up the ones you guys want to see answered, and I'll try to get it on the next show. And also, fear not, if you don't see your question, make sure each week to come back and put it in the latest video. I do try to stay with the latest videos, and just like some of the questions I answered this week, they've been floating around in the question queue for quite a while. I've actually tried to answer even a few times, so I actually got to them this time. But remember, put it down there, vote them up, and I'll get them on the show. So thanks a bunch again for watching. And in the meantime, for the next show, get out, go play some Airsoft, but no matter what you do, call your freaking hits.